Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you guys my second ever BIKC local finals at Teamsport Bristol. For me, practice went quite well as I finished with a lap that was only 68 milliseconds slower than the fastest lap, and I was quite pleased with that. After checking out the session on the Teamsport app as well, I realised I was not just that fast, but I was also the most consistent driver at the time. This meant that I was not only confident for quali, but also confident for the race, as I knew I would be able to keep my pace throughout the whole session. Anyway, in this quali session, I am in kart number 10, so let's find out if it's good or bad. As I've got the pits here, Voiden instantly peels off to the right, supposedly to wait for someone, I guess. So what I'm going to try and do is just to stick to the back of Ruben, who is now ahead of me, and just try putting the fastest laps that I can. Also, because I know Ruben is quite quick as this track, I'm going to try and use him as a benchmark to see how fast or slow I'm actually going. He will also be able to help me gauge how good or bad my kart is in the session. After one lap, I realised that I wasn't gaining or losing any time to Ruben, which isn't necessarily a bad thing and isn't necessarily a good thing yet, at least. So let's continue for a few more laps and see how it goes. After about 5 laps, it seems like I'm still in the exact same place behind Ruben as I was in the first lap, and that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing if it wasn't for the fact that Charlie was catching up to both of us really fast. I look behind coming into this hairpin here and I see how close he is, and I just let him through because I don't want to ruin his qualifying, and maybe he can help me get some better laps myself. However, the fact that Charlie was catching up to me that fast and was gapping me this easily is not a good sign. I was faster than him in practice, and at worst I'm usually slower by only 1 or 2 tenths. This is probably one of the signs that my kart in this quali was just not good at all. As you can see here, after like 1.5 laps, the gap has already grown to this size. This is not good, it's not normal, and yeah, I should have known at this time that I had a bad kart, but it wouldn't have changed anything as we weren't allowed to swap them either, so yeah. I'm going to skip ahead to my fastest lap of quali, just so I don't bore you guys with the rest of this footage as nothing really happens. Well, that was my fastest lap of quali, and the fact that my fastest lap was a lap where I was overtaking someone, even if it was on the top long right-hander, that tells you just how bad this was. Okay then, an explanation on where I am starting and where I qualified. In that session I finished 6th, only a few milliseconds behind 9th and 8th, which was quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. That meant that because there were only 9 drivers in each final, I was starting in 6th for the A final currently. However, there was still another quali session, as there were 2 quali sessions with 2 different groups of drivers in them. That meant that there were 4 other people in the second quali group who beat my lap time and dropped me down to 10th place. That meant that I was starting on pole in the B final, and yeah, if I won, I would go into the A final. Let's see how I did. And the lights go green. I get a surprisingly good start, which with an engine which I thought was quite cold. Then I go tight and defensive for the first few corners, but look behind going into the hairpin, see there's no one close behind me, don't go defensive there, or going up the ramp, so I get quite a good start. Now I just need to focus on keeping P1 and trying to pull away as far as I can. I am still wary of P2, however, and I'm looking behind quite regularly just to make sure he's not too close, because he had a kart 3, which was regularly said to be quite good on this day. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, just because nothing happens right now. Okay then, I skip ahead by 7 laps just to show how the race is going, and as you can see now, P2 is just sort of coming around the long right-hander as I'm going through the last top hairpin. Seems like I've got myself quite a good lead and I won't be giving it away anytime soon. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit more to see if my lead has either grown more or gone a bit worse. Okay then, we're now on the last lap, and I'm actually getting closer to lapping someone who was in an accident, unfortunately, earlier in the race, and had dropped to last place. As well as that, the P2 driver is just going into the long right-hander, while I am going into the second hairpin on the top section. This just further goes to show how bad the kart in quali was, as I am not that slow. Coming around pit lane corner, I was relieved to see Matt waving the checkered flag. However, I quite honestly, my mentality was still in the gutter, and I really did not believe I could do anything in the A final. Okay then, now it's time for the A final, where I am starting in 10th place, which is right at the back of the grid. So yeah, let's see. I was also driving a car that I have not driven all day, or in actually a very long while, even outside this day actually. So I was quite skeptical to see how I would be able to adapt to handling this kart, because a lot of these karts are quite different from each other. And let's go green. I get a bad start and lose quite a lot of time to the drivers ahead, but that closes right up as everyone bunches together going into the first 2 corners. Going into Mickey Mouse, I send it on Elsie, trying to overtake her, but I don't get the position right away. I give her space on the exit and she goes defensive into the hairpin, and I go for a cutback, which works, and I get a better run going up the hill. Now that I've gained 1 position already on the first lap of the race, I'm feeling a little bit more confident, so let's see how much I can catch up to the drivers ahead. Now, remember how I said this kart was not driven by me before? Yeah, that turns out to be a little bit of a problem, as it's really tricky in the braking zones here, as I need to get used to how it handles and how it reacts to my braking. Anyway, forgetting about that for a second, I see that the 3 ahead are quite close together, so I'm hoping they'll start fighting each other so I can go for a move on at least one of them. So let's see how it goes, especially since going into Mickey Mouse there's quite an opportunity to overtake. Going up to this hairpin, my hopes are coming true. Driver in P8 sends a move on Morgan here, which allows me to cut back and overtake Morgan before going up the ramp, and then squeezing myself into a gap going into the long right-hander and being able to overtake who's the driver who's now in P7 as well. If I got my confidence up just by overtaking Elsie on lap 1, this made my confidence go through the roof. I am now in 7th place and not even that far away from Harrison Gravner, who is in the position that I need to be in order to qualify for regionals. Also, I know that the kart that Harrison Gravner is in is not good at all. This means that if I drive well and consistently, I will catch up to him in quite a timely manner. Let's skip ahead and see if any of that happens. Okay then, I've skipped only 2 laps ahead and I'm already right on the back of him. Let's see if I can even do anything though. I know that my line coming out the hairpin here and going off the ramp is much faster than his, so I'm going to try setting up a cutback where I get a better exit. It works, and him jumping up and down his kart I think slows him a bit down, allowing me to go for a move up the inside, just barely squeezing myself into that gap, and being able to overtake him going around the right-hander. Now, my original plan before coming into this race was to send it on everyone until I got into 6th place, where I am right now, and then defend. But since I know I'm that much faster than the guys behind, I'm going to hope I can just try pulling away a little gap and not having to actually defend for the whole race. Let's see if I can do that in the next few laps. Skipping ahead by 2 laps, I think we can see that my plan actually worked. I'm not in the vicinity of any of the drivers behind me, and I'm actually rather catching up to Adrian here, who's in 5th place. Going at the hairpin up the ramp, I see I get a much better exit than Adrian, and I'm thinking about sending a move on him just so I don't get stuck behind him and lose lots of time to the drive behind. Going into the first hairpin on the top section, that thought becomes reality as I'm close enough to send it, and I'm confident I can make the move stick. So I send on Adrian here and make the overtake go well. It is a real shame though, because Adrian had the exact same kart that both of us had in quali. It has absolutely no power through any and out of any corners, which makes it just a really slow kart. And the reason it's such a shame that Adrian had this kart was because he had so much pace, and he was so close to qualifying for regionals as he qualified in 5th place with that kart. It's a shame because I had to overtake him in order to not get caught by the drivers behind, and I caught him only because he had that kart. As well as that, the drivers behind, Harrison Gravner and Morgan, were both able to catch up to him as well, which allowed Morgan to overtake both Harrison and Adrian and get himself into 6th. Still, great driving from Morgan as he gained 2 positions there and was able to qualify for regionals himself. Speaking of Morgan, please go check out his channel. It will be linked in the description of the video, and he makes great videos as well. If you want to see his POV, that's even more reason to check out his channel, as his video is already uploaded. Anyway, let's go ahead with this footage and see if anything happens later on. Okay then, we are now on the final lap, and as you can see, I've caught up to the top 4 quite a lot. It is still a shame though, as I was hoping that if I would be able to catch up to them enough, I would be able to fight for a podium position, but unfortunately I'll have to settle for 5th place. Coming around the pit lane corner, I see Matt waving the checkered flag yet again, and going under the track, I realise the reality that I've finished 5th, and gotten driver of the day, and have fastest lap. So yeah, I was also the most consistent out of anyone on the day, which is also a very important thing.
Not paying attention to what I need to do.